Hi everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and on our show today we have Deane Wilson. Deane lives up the road in Newfane. He was born and raised there. He's worked in local schools with at-risk youth. He's on the Brattleboro Chamber's Board of Directors, and he also works at Southern Vermont Wellness, which is our local cannabis dispensary. He's also the owner and operator of Wilson Hemp Farm in Newfane. So welcome, Deane, to the show.
Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for having me. I'm a big supporter of community television,
Yay.
Community radio, and it's a pleasure being here.
Oh, thank you.
First, before we get started, I just want to say that even though I work for Southern Vermont Wellness, I just want to say that my thoughts, feelings, opinions are my own and not necessarily the points of view for Southern Vermont Wellness.
That's great.
So there we
Good to
go.
know.
I want to throw that out there.
That's a good disclaimer to start off with. Great. So you're a local guy. You went to Leland and Gray.
Did.
And you started working at some point with kids that were at risk. How did that come about?
Well, I live on the South Wardsboro Road in Newfane,
Yeah.
and I picked up a gentleman hitchhiking, and his name is Bob Bursky, and he was going to give the pitch to the supervisory unit about starting a new program working with at-risk youth in our community. He told me that he was very excited about it. I thought he was maybe not serious. I didn't know. I dropped him off at the supervisory union and went to my work at a bike shop in Newfane. I owned Newfane Off-Road Biking with my partner Tim Scully for a number of years. And Bob came in later and told me that he was going to be starting a program and wanted to know if I would do some bike riding with kids, do some mountain bike tours.
That's great.
And so that's how I got started in it.
Yeah.
It was quite a learning experience, and it was one of my best experiences I've ever had in my life, and
Really?
I have some lifelong friendships that I made as a result of it.
And working with kids at Kindle Farm, it was quite a wide range of different kinds of kids.
It was, I'd say, a little rough.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable a lot of times, but it gave me a lot of great communication skills, how to problem solve, working with people with behavioral, social, emotional problems.
Yes.
And I just like working with kids, though.
Yeah.
I found them to be really genuine young men, and I realized that not every kid fits into the box of public education.
Right.
There's some great young men out there, but a lot of these kids, they have a lot of the same stories. Physical, emotional, sexual abuse, a lot of times, not everyone, of course, maybe throw in a learning disability, and so they traditionally didn't do very well with public education.
Yeah.
And of course, when you don't feel good about yourself or your life, you tend to act out. Plus, a lot of the kids were in their homes, they were in a state of crisis, and we all know that, when you're trying to meet your basic human needs, that your brain doesn't necessarily work that well, and your hippocampus shuts down, and you have a really hard time learning. So we try to get kids back on track and eventually try to reintegrate them back into public education.
Oh. So they're all local kids?
Most of them, some kids were transported up to an hour away. We had a few kids from Claremont, New Hampshire, coming down every day. Yeah. It was so they, a lot of school districts didn't know how to deal with it. Yeah. Bob had a real talent for finding the right people. During vacations, I would work with DCF too, and I would work with kids. I would do some respite work with them as well. Yep. And I took in some foster kids. You did. Yeah. I had a foster child, and I would work with other foster kids, or if other foster families needed a break, I would go out and work with the kids for a while. And I also did a bus run with some of these young gentlemen for a few years as well too, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. Could be challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But it was great.
Every day was a challenge too, I would think. You had a whole different set of circumstances. Right. They also have a farm as well, though, don't they, as part of their curriculum, actually?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I worked with Eric Shearing at the vocational program. Yes. Eric's an old friend of mine, and we worked together for 10 years. And we started the vocational program up there, which was, at the time, it was bicycle mechanics, horticulture, and carpentry. That's
great.
Yeah.
And that worked.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I've been hearing great things about their cooking program. Eventually, we did culinary arts, and I believe some of the young gentlemen, they won the some big honor.
Oh, like an Iron Chef.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
I think
right?
it was Iron Chef Junior.
Yeah, right.
Right. So they're going up against some tough schools, and they pulled it out. So
that's so great. What a
really great for
template.
their self-esteem.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Right.
And also Kindle Farm, I think, is just a great template for what you can do and what things are possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you're put in the right circumstances.
With the right people. Yeah.
That's right. I worked after that at Families First for about a year, and then I worked at Brattleboro High School for 9 years in the special ed department.
Oh, wow.
As the planning room supervisor and a behavioral specialist. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a little resume right there. Yeah, I would think that you would have a lot of skills that you would have to get over the years dealing in.
Yeah, I learned.
Because you're doing one-on-one as well as group, right, with these kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get involved with Southern Vermont Wellness?
Well, I guess let me start off by saying that when I was growing up, we had some neighbors that were growing marijuana. And they didn't fit the typical stereotype of what I've been hearing from other people about what pot smokers were all about. These were highly educated people. They had good jobs. They didn't seem lazy. They weren't driving around in Volkswagen buses, making granola
and wearing Birkenstocks.
Birkenstocks. Although they would have accepted those people as well too. So I became interested in it. At that point, and then when I was working at Brattleboro High School, I heard Shane Lynn. Shane grew up in Newfane as well. He's the CEO for Champlain Valley Dispensary in Southern Vermont Wellness.
Yep.
And I heard him on Vermont Public Radio while I was waiting to pick up my daughter from softball practice. And I sent him out a message on Facebook Messenger, and I said, hey, if you're think it's great what you're doing. If you ever decide to do something in Brattleboro, let me know. I'd be very interested. And about a month later, he got back to me and he said, hey, we're thinking about opening up a dispensary down in Brattleboro. We got approved for a dispensary down there, so we've got to go through the DRB, the process.
The DRB is?
The Developmental Review Board. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, I went to a meeting here with him in Brattleboro, and then a few months later, I started working at Southern Vermont Wellness.
Wow. So what year was that?
So that was 5 years ago. So that's good. Yeah, 2000.
Just 5 years ago, really?
Just 5 years ago. Right, February. I want to say February 10th. Yeah,
that's pretty specific.
2004, right? Right. That's when we opened the doors. We started off with 30 patients, and last count, it's hovering right around 1,600 now.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah. There's 5,600 patients as of yesterday. There's 5,600 patients in the state of Vermont, and we have about 4,000 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, between Burlington, Middlebury, South Burlington, and Brattleboro.
Yes, right. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. It was a cap. There used to be a cap when we started. There was a cap of 1,000 people, but as of July, I guess 2004, they decided to open that up.
Yeah. And so has the business itself expanded to accommodate that? And do you have more staff?
Yeah, a lot more staff. Yeah, there was just a few people. So when I started off, there was a woman, Dreama Rosansky. So she was working as the manager. Then I came in as manager after that. I was a manager for 2.5 years. And I had another guy, Tyler, Bridget was there. There's another gentleman, Sam, that we worked with for a while. Very small.
Yeah.
The first day, we didn't know what we were doing. We forgot to get money. The ATM machine crashed. I mean, it was just typical marijuana business stuff, but it was very exciting, and I never forget how happy and excited people were to come in for the first time. It's an experience, so we want to give them the best experience possible when they're coming in, and try not to forget that people are coming in for medicine. They want to feel better, and they also want to get rid of the stigma that's associated with cannabis, marijuana.
Right. And there are those two things in combination that I think that is what Southern Vermont Wellness's presence here in Brattleboro is really helping.
Right.
And you guys have just moved too. So.
Yeah, we just moved down the road, right between Tito's and Hannaford's, right on the road in the old TD Bank building.
Yes.
That's our company colors. We didn't have to change the colors. But
that's right.
There's a huge sign out there now. So in the previous 5-6 years, we weren't allowed to advertise at all. We couldn't have a sign or anything. So now, as of July of this year, we can have a sign, and we have a CBD drive-through.
Yes, I love that.
Right, you can go through and get CBD products there now.
And was that just because, was that happenstance because there happened to be a drive-through there available?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you took advantage of it.
Yeah, we thought it was a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Right.
And
People love drive-thrus. And,
Yeah.
and besides the fact, too, a lot of our folks have mobility issues. So they may have a really hard time getting out of the car. And eventually we're going to be able to have people, medical patients, be able to go to the drive-thru because again, they may have mobility issues.
Yes.
They may not be disabled, may not be able to get out of the car.
Right.
So they can pull up, show their ID.
Yep.
We'll know it's them.
Yep.
And then they can get a little bag and head on down the road.
That's great. Your staff also is very well trained to talk to people and to go through all of the questions that they have.
Yeah, we have a great staff.
Yep.
I feel blessed when I was manager there. Highly knowledgeable, always thirsty for new information, and there's a lot to learn. Too. Yeah. It isn't just cut and dry.
No, it's not. And I think that's one of the things that's really important. That what I'm hoping is that you can lead us through the 3 different types of cannabis, so that people, I think there's so many misconceptions and myths and just misunderstandings about what marijuana is, what cannabis is, what CBD is. So if you could give us
want to do a 101?
Let's do a quick 101.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it simple. So basically, there's indicas, sativas, and CBD hemp, or industrial hemp and CBD. So indicas typically are raised, grown in the northern regions. They're usually a little bit shorter, the leaves are broader, they mature a little bit quicker, and then the actual strain is known for helping usually with pain, relaxation, a feeling of sedation, calmness. A lot of people use it for nighttime, they may use it for sleep, but I think probably most of our folks use it for pain.
So that one is an indica.
That's an indica.
That's an indica. This the more sedating.
More sedating,
calming.
pain relief.
Okay.
Yeah, pure sativas. If you just let it grow, they take 6 months to grow. They'd be 13 feet tall.
Wow.
I mean, they take a long time to mature. But sativas usually are more for feeling energetic. A lot of folks with cancer will really like it. A lot of people with cancer will tell me that it makes a difference between laying in bed all day feeling sick or getting up and be able to go for a hike or go to the grocery store or just get up and be active and not feel nauseous. So sativas do that. A lot of artists really like it. One thing I didn't add to is, of course, there's hybrids as well too.
Okay.
So in most of the strains that we have up at the dispensary are hybrids. So. Which means then they may be 60% indica, 40% sativa. Because again, like I said, if you have a pure sativa, it takes forever to grow. Of course, growers, breeders, they've been mixing and matching strains for a number of years, trying to get the highest THC content or level as possible. But now we know that having a full range of cannabinoids is really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially for health reasons as well.
It is, right.
Yeah. And.
Right.
And there's so many anecdotal stories about people who have been relieved of pain and inflammation, and your story about the cancer they're quite remarkable. Remarkable stories. Right. And you carry all of those products.
We do. So then we'll get into CBD. So CBD is cannabidiol, and it's in hemp, and there's also industrial hemp, but CBD is it's an anti-inflammatory, anti-spasmodic. A lot of people, you might have heard, kids with seizure disorders will use CBD products. Parkinson's. Our U.S. government holds the patent on CBD.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Even though it's a Schedule I drug.
Yes.
It's right there in the U.S. Patent Office. It talks about all the health benefits of it.
It does.
It does. Yeah.
Well, that's a piece of information. Hemp has been used industrially, historically, for years and years. Right.
I mean, the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper.
Was it?
George Washington wanted everyone to grow a spoonful of hemp. Farmers did it till 1917. 1917, it was banned in the United States. And then the ban was lifted from 1942 to 1945 because of World War II. It was
because it was needed.
It was needed.
Right,
it was needed for for sailors, for rope, for clothing. So they use it. My father was in World War II, and so he was in the Battle of the Bulge, and he, anytime I think I am doing something hard, I think about my dad spending the winter of 1944 outside the entire winter in the Ardennes forest, fighting for his life. So there's that. But they reinstituted the ban after 1945, and until I guess it's 4 years now, I think, in the state of Vermont, it's been legal. Vermont's one of 13 states that has hemp is legal, and I went to Hemp Fest this year, and it was wonderful. And there was a few thousand people there, and there's a lot of people growing a lot of good hemp. The difference between hemp and marijuana is they're both cannabis plants. Hemp has to be under 0.3% THC in order to be legal. And as your viewers can see, I brought in some hemp right here. This is a strain called Colorado Cherry. And it's a wonderful strain. You were talking about how great it smelled when you came in, and it has a wonderful fragrant smell. It looks beautiful. It grows just like cannabis. One thing that finding more and more people are using hemp for is anxiety. There's an awful lot of people have anxiety out there, and a lot of folks are telling me that it really does help them with that.
Hemp farmers who are growing this, they're selling, who are they selling to? Or is it a variety?
It's a variety. A lot of them are turning it into an oil or a concentrate of some sort. A lot of farmers are making it into their own product. So a lot of farmers are making it into tinctures, topical salves. Good Body is right down here in Guilford. They make a great salve. Bob Bursky, we're talking about, Jubilee Farm. He's making some tinctures, and he has a wonderful salve that he's making right now too.
I've heard a lot of anecdotal stories about people being relieved from pain with the salve, like kind of miraculous kind of healing.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yes, I bet you hear a lot of stories all the time.
You know, we have everyone from every walk of life that come in there. There's people that are probably struggling with cash every day. It's probably a lot of people that are doing, working folks. And, they all have one thing in common, though. They really want pain relief. You don't need to make an appointment to go to get hemp-based products. You have to have a marijuana card through the state of Vermont. A great resource is going to the Vermont Marijuana Registry. Yes. And then they have all the forms right there, everything you would need. And our website, if you go to Champlain Valley Dispensary or cbdvt.org, you can go, and it has our full menu, has information. There's a blog, tons of resources, a link to Project CBD, a link to healer.com. It's a great resource. And
we'll have that information at the end of the show. You're selling a lot of local products, so you know who your growers are. You know what the products are about.
For the hemp, yes. Yeah, with our Ceres shop, Ceres Natural Remedies, we do buy from a lot of local people in Vermont. There's a lot of local Vermont products. With marijuana, it's written into the state law that everything that we have in the dispensary, this is for marijuana, people with a card, has to be done in-house. So it's seed to sale. We have to do everything. So that means we grow everything, we harvest everything, we're drying it all, we're turning it into products, we're turning it into vaporizer cartridges, edibles, topicals, and raw cannabis. It's a highly regulated program. We're overseen by the Department of Public Safety. There's a lot of rules, regulations. We have to be accountable for everything that we have in the dispensary. We have to do inventory every single day. And if something comes up missing, it's a big deal. And we have 24 hours to figure out what happened with it. And if we can't, we have to file a report with the state of Vermont. And then there's an investigation that goes along with it. Plus, we have HD video, audio in the dispensaries, and it's a very tightly run ship. Yes, it's very regulated. Highly regulated.
I have a question about standardization, potency and standardization, and how you deal with that.
Yeah.
With your products, when someone comes in, to know like how many milligrams.
Yeah,
dosage
it has to be, all right, so it has to be listed. So the state of Vermont requires that we have a package ID, we have a batch ID, we have what the product is, how many grams. They don't require us to have to put on how many milligrams are on there, but we do put it on there, especially with our edibles. We think it's incredibly important because we always recommend people start between 5 and 10 milligrams, which is a low dose.
Right.
And you want to start small, and then you could work your way up if you want to. You don't. Everyone that's taken too many edibles has an edible story. It can be very, very, very uncomfortable. No one's ever died from overdosing on cannabis, but it can be just as bad as getting sick from alcohol. The biggest mistake people make is they'll just take too much. So, and the reason is with edibles, it can take it's converted into a different drug when it goes in through your stomach, and it can take up to 2 hours plus for it to take effect. So we will make a recommendation on how much to take, which, like I said, between 5 and 10 milligrams, and an hour or so will go by, nothing will happen, and then they'll take way too much. Right. And then it gets uncomfortable. But we warn people about that. Yeah. Hey, Wendy, one thing I want to mention to people too that do have a card, that we have a delivery service and as well too. So we'll deliver anywhere in the state of Vermont for $5. And any orders over $250, it's absolutely free. So, and that's what I do now. I deliver.
You're a delivery guy.
The delivery driver. It's
sort of like a bookmobile, right?
It's the bookmobile, but a little bit different. Right. Instead of delivering books, I'm delivering cannabis to folks. But I love it. It's a great job.
And I bet you meet a lot of people.
I do.
And it's a great service for people who can't get out.
And people are always happy to see me. Yep. And just like in the dispensary, I go and I check their card and verify the information and drop it off and move it along to the next one.
So you do a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling around the state. Yeah, I've gotten to know a lot of the back roads. I thought I knew a lot of them, but I know a lot more.
I think that it's like new laws. You know, there are new roads that appear in Brattleboro or in the Vermont. The state of Vermont. Yeah.
Worst weather in Vermont, Searsburg. Just want to throw that out there. It could be a beautiful day. I mean, they all consistently have much more snow.
Hogback, that Route 9 going over.
Yeah, past right.
So I was just reading recently that tobacco companies and big business of various kinds are getting involved. Even the stock market, a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Well, I've been reading a little bit about it. I know in Canada, Marlboro just bought a cannabis company up there. They're associated with a cannabis company for $1.8 billion.
Oh my gosh.
And I know they're involved with some other stuff out in the western part of the United States, probably Colorado, Oregon, Washington. But specifically, they're going to be up in Canada now because Canada, the entire country, is legal.
It's all legal.
Marijuana is legal up there. Yeah, and I think it's 18 and over because the drinking age is 18 up there too. Yeah. So they're coming in. I know with the hemp producers here in the state of Vermont, this is something that a lot of hemp producers are pretty worried about. They don't want to put all this time and energy into starting a hemp business and then just have big business come in and swoop everything up. Like a really big company. Unless that's part of their business strategy.
That's right. Yes.
That's right.
Being bought by a bigger business.
That's right. Yeah.
What are your feelings about it?
Well, my feelings are that I'd like to see the hemp industry be more like, and I'll say the cannabis industry for this fact too, be more like the maple syrup producers or the like the craft cheese people in the state. Really try to have the best product out there and build upon that. People know the Vermont brand, they know Vermont products, they know that Vermonters do things very well. They know that we are very concerned about quality. And marketing has shown that people really do buy the Vermont brands. Yes. So I'm excited about that. What that really means for the future, I'm not 100% sure. It's not an easy business. I mean, the hemp is another regulated business, just like cannabis. Keeping your percentage of THC under 0.3% is challenging. It's incredibly challenging. So, we'll see exactly what happens. It's all up in the air. cannabis and hemp, it's all a new business,
Yes.
and it's the wild west of herbs out there.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I will say that I want to say to your viewers is that talk about the endocannabinoid system in our brains. So one of the reasons that people respond so well to hemp and to cannabis is that right inside of our brain we have an endocannabinoid system. It was discovered in 1992 by Dr. Raphael Mechoulam in Israel, and it shows that that we have in our bodies, we have receptors, we have it throughout our body, we have it in our brain and our central nervous system, and it mimics what our body already produces. So that's why cannabis is really very, very effective with a lot of people. It's not for everyone. Not everyone likes cannabis. It doesn't affect them, and some people just don't like the feeling or the effect that they get from it. So I really want people to stop thinking it as a hard drug.
Yeah.
It's incredibly safe. I would say one thing: if you have a predisposed mental disorder of like schizophrenia or something in your family, it'd probably be better to avoid that. But it's an incredibly safe medicine. Yeah. And it's I see what it does every day.
Yes, and again, CBD is a little bit different, in terms of using it for medical reasons specifically.
Right.
I love the fact that we have the receptors ready.
Right. And I would say to people, if you're ever interested in trying it and you don't really want to feel the effects of it, you could with cannabis. Now that marijuana is legal, I say cannabis, but cannabis and marijuana are the same thing. It's legal in the state of Vermont. People, you would try a little bit. If you got a beer, if you'd never had alcohol, you wouldn't start off by downing a 6-pack.
Exactly, that's right.
You would maybe have one drink.
That's right.
And I would equivocate one hit maybe. You smoke it to one drink and stop. Microdosing is becoming a big thing.
It's becoming.
Most people don't want to really get high. They just want relief from their symptoms.
That's right.
And that's where hemp would come to this too. Not having any THC or very low levels of THC.
Yes.
You could use it, and you would most likely get some effect from it, but not get any psychotropic effects and not get high.
Right. Well, yeah, this is kind of a whole new territory. Even though this is an ancient herb that's been on the planet for ages, we are learning more and more about it, and more about how we as human beings can receive it and the benefits that are out there. And with it coming into the culture and all the laws changing, it's about constant updates as well, and being informed. So the fact, and as I said, we'll have the information at the end of the show. But for people, I think to be informed is really important.
Right. And there's a lot of very professional people that are using cannabis.
Yes.
Now they don't want to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, but they will.
Probably. They will.
Yeah.
They will, and it's like I said, it's across the board. There's a lot
5
of people
years
using
from now, we're going to be telling a different story.
We sure will.
We will.
It's a constantly evolving business.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Deane.
Well, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. That was a bit of a whirlwind,
yes.
but a lot of information. But thank you, those of you who are tuned in today. There's, as I said, a lot of information, a lot of myths to dispel, and I think a lot of stigma to really take a look at and see what this is all about. So look for the information at the end of the show, and tune in next week. We will be here.